Greetings everyone, Archimedes here, and welcome back to another Brickfield LEGO video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at one of my latest my own creations, a city skyline, which I built for Bill's annual 6x6 contest on MOC pages. I was actually rather proud of it. It kind of expanded out into a style of building that I've really never done before. And so, let's take a look, shall we? Now, the challenge for this tier of the competition, the semifinals, was to create a micro-scale city, something that, once again, fit within a 6x6x32 stud block high space. Now, at first, I was going to build my tiered city from the Thunderstrider universe, and I still may do that. However, as I was building it, I was really having a lot of trouble pulling it together, and I had this second idea of building a skyline of a city. Instead of building the city itself, building, these tall skyscrapers on the black background. The first panel, as you can see, is something like the Empire State Building, with the moon in the background. The second panel is something of more of a similar to the Empire State Building, this slightly lower building set, but once again, more beautified modern skyscrapers. The next is a clock tower and more of a warehousey style of building. This, in fact, was actually kind of based off of a building in the area where I live, a city where I live, which holds what used to be the largest clock tower in the world. And this was my representation of that. Finally, on the fourth side, we have older styled, but kind of more industrial manufacturing styled skyscrapers themselves. So it kind of makes a loop. You have, the modern Art Deco-y style and more pretty-looking skyscrapers. And then on the other side, you have more industrial work. Now, when I first started designing this model, I chose to make it a monochrome, or rather a bichrome in this model. As you can see, it's only two colors. It's only black and dark gray. And I chose this for a reason, because it made the buildings stand out. I also, as you can see, really didn't do much detailing aside from the panels. It's a very blank, flat, black square, or cube, or rectangular solid, that really doesn't have much detail aside from the side panels. And I chose to use this look because, first of all, I wanted to make it look rather primitive and simple and basic. Monochrome helps with that, as does a lack of extra details. And it really made sure that the focus of the model was the buildings itself. If you pull off this top panel, you're able to remove these panels themselves. As you can see that they are actually stacked plates, and in their original position they would look like this, but I've reverted them sideways like this to fit into the model. I chose to make them flat plates as opposed to using bricks because it gave a lot more detail to the models and enabled me to put these thin little slices in between the buildings, like the streets or the definition between them. The next thing you'll notice is there are a lot of inlaid cheese slopes in this model. This is one of the first times I've really played around with this technique, and I really quite like it. I was able to use it for some of the peaks on the roofs and the buildings, and some of the little details. I really like the way it turned out. It was really cool, and really fun to try to make it fit into this very small space. What I was most proud of in this model, though, is that if you look at the panels, not straight on, but at a 90-degree angle, you get a fairly complete view of the city. In fact, this little building here, which really looks like nothing from this side and doesn't look too fantastic from here, at this angle suddenly becomes a building of its own right, somewhere like there. And I think it kind of continues on the city skyline look very nicely. If you continue turning, you can see once again at those angles you have kind of a transition, the streets that would be in place, etc. And I really like this look. This was a new perspective for me. Ha ha ha. It was a new perspective for me, honestly. And I really appreciated this technique. It's something I've really never played with before. And I rather like it. The one thing you might be wondering about is the little studs that are inlaid in the walls up here. Now, I meant them to be stars. Now, at first glimpse, it may not look like they're much. In fact, I think they almost detract from the model. However, if you spin it when the light is right, the stars glimmer quite beautifully. That's why I chose to leave them in the model. When you are experiencing this model in person in particular, I have this sitting on my desk right now, and you walk past, you turn on the lights or something, the reflections off of the studs reflect and glimmer really coolly, and I like the way it looks a lot. And that, my friends, is my 6x6 city skyline. I really would like to hear what you think. This was a really new taste of brick building for me, and I'm just wondering, I'm sure there are a few experts out there who've done a lot more of this style than I have, and I'm curious to know what you think and what would make this model different and better. If you did in fact like this video or my model, please comment, rate, or subscribe. If you didn't like this model or had some suggestions on how to improve it, still please comment, rate, and subscribe. I want to hear what you have to say, make my model, my channel, different and better. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all farewell. My name is Arcimedes36, and I'll see you next time.